Hello. This year I don't bore you with my DNS, dynamic DNS system. Don't worry at all. I'm here to talk to you about Devuan, which is another project that I'm working on in this year. It's a new Linux distribution, and it's basically it's a Debian fork without systemd. This is the Cool, seems appreciated. The project started in November 2014 after the Ian Jackson vote. If you remember, in November on 2015, this guy asked to the Debian community to support both systemd and the standard system init, and the response was not great. So at that point, we decided to fork Debian and create a distribution without systemd. Why is called Devuan? Because it's something strange. The project started inside a Facebook group. It's very strange. The Facebook group is called VUA group, and it means veteran Unix admin, because we are pretty old, sorry. It's an Italian Facebook group, but the most part of the people in this group speak an English better than me. And it's spelled Devuan in English, Devuan, okay? So we are veteran, but we are not old. This is important for us. And when we start to implement the infrastructure to run our project, we decided to take a different path than the original Debian system and implement some things that are newer than Debian. So we decided to have our internal Git code. This is not it is a political thing, I think, because we started with the GitHub, but we decided to move on a GitLab server, which is an open source version of GitHub, probably for political reasons. Our developer pushed the code on GitHub. GitHub is integrated with the Jenkins as a continuous integration system. Jenkins compiled the packages, build everything, and check if everything is work fine. After that, the package is ready to be published inside our repositories. And we manage repositories with a software called we called Emproller, which is an open source software made by one of us. All the build server in Jenkins, this is the point that match the system. All the build servers used by Jenkins are hosted inside an OpenNebula infrastructure. We use our Jenkins plugins to manage EC2, Amazon EC2 autoscale facility. So when our Jenkins system needs more resources than the ones that we have in-house, we can scale up on Amazon.
Maybe I can illustrate some more details. I managed to reach Alberto in this conference. It's my first time in OpenNebula. I really like it, so thank you for this opportunity. It's also our first time that we present ever Devuan to public after 1 year of development. So basically, the flow here is GitLab is clear. The builds are triggered. We wrote a little script to trigger builds to Jenkins, which is a build farm where we accept contributions. So you can run also an ARM and help us build. Jenkins builds both with the Amazon EC2 and also with a QEMU setup where we p-build the packages. And that is interesting because we fixed both the Jenkins Debian glue And we fix also a situation for QEMU to cross-build packages to other targets like ARM on multi-threaded machines. QEMU crashes. Basically, we wrote a wrapper for LD preload that wraps the pthread calls so that the machines don't crash. So these are like all little things that we go along on the C and we fix as they weren't really in place. Then Amprolla is the most perhaps interesting part, has been written by Franco Lanza, another developer that is not here, is basically we don't use pinning to correct the packages. Of course, we change the source of the packages with our own maintenance choices. And then Amprolla basically overlays all the repository to Debian repositories for all those packages that have no difference. So basically, we don't have at this phase in the Devuan 8, which is also codenamed Jessie, after a planet rather than a cartoon, we don't have to host all the Debian packages, whereas we want to host them in the future when we grow capacity, we are overlaying. So the pinning, let's say, it's server side. And yeah, please go on with the...
Yeah, as Dennis said, we are not against Debian. Personally, I have half of my infrastructure made by Debian, so I'm pretty happy to work with them. As Dennis said, we tried to contribute actively also on Debian, in master Debian project with some bug corrections, some new feature, and of course, these are some of what we did in this day.
Perhaps I forgot to mention also... I forgot to mention vdev. It's one thing that we really proudly support, developed by Jude Nelson. It's a PhD plan project for him. It's substituting udev. So we are actually building something that is an alternative, complete alternative to udev, in case things go wrong. Also with the udev and Linux kernel integration, we have a second plan. And I think Jude is doing an amazing work in innovating the concepts, because we all coped with these udev rules, but actually they didn't really make sense to anyone used to Unix. So vdev is bringing back the events to a file system structure. There is a Lux-based file system in user space, and that you can monitor with iNotify and get the events as they come. So no more self-invented rules and a lot of more simplification for the program. And it will do just the device management. It won't grow as a cancer through the whole system.
Going forward, just some numbers to better understand our project. In this moment, we have 150 repositories in GitHub. So these are the packages that we are recompiled to make them compatible with an environment without systemd. At the moment, we have 500 active developers that use our GitLab infrastructure, of course. We have a mailing list. We decided to have a mailing list to communicate from us, and we have more than 500 active users. And the website at the moment is pretty simple, contains some information about the system, but without going too in deep on that. And we have a lot of visitors. So we have 30K of visitors, unique visitors every month. So something that is appreciated to the public. As Dennis said, at the moment, this is the first time that we go in front of a public to present our project, so we didn't make any form of marketing. And anyway, we had 11K of euros of donation, simple donation for people like me and you, without any sponsorship behind us. We spent some money, then it's could integrate that better if you need. We spend some money, especially to sponsor some developers that are working actively on our projects, but we still have an active balance, which is a strange thing in a startup of 1 year. The most important number, in my opinion, is that there was a survey on distrowatch, and by this survey emerged that there are the 56% of users that don't like systemd. Probably in this room the percentage is more and more and more.
If we consider that the audience of distrowatch is mostly desktop users, this is already a very high number for a system that has targeted mostly desktop usage. Systemd is mostly targeting that.
Okay, the key factor, in our opinion, of Devuan are, first, it's easy to upgrade from Debian. From Debian Wheezy, it's pretty fast. It's only a distro upgrade, but also it's possible to migrate from Debian Jessie to Devuan. So it's possible to convert a Debian Jessie installation in Devuan. As Denis said, we don't want to recompile everything. We have to recompile only what we need. So we don't have all the Debian repositories, a copy of the Debian repositories in our server. Less work, better work. Another important thing for us is the support of strange architectures, because we really care to support architecture for very small computer, for example, domotic,
Yeah, considering Franco is an embedded developer, myself, I worked mostly on embedded. The systemd Avalanche basically took over all the mulib and the small diet libcs and all this sort of uclibc. All these projects are really having an hard time to cope with the changes that are imposed by the whole ecosystem. So I think besides the server ecosystem, also the embedded developer ecosystem is heavily affected by these changes. So we try to really satisfy those demands.
Another thing, at the opposite of Debian and more like Ubuntu and CentOS, we plan to have an enterprise support and a quality assurance system. Dennis can explain better to me this point, but anyway, it's something that we want to publish the quality of the build of our packages for the public, for the enterprise users.
Yeah, we have really an advantage by using immediately Jenkins, because if you heard about the plans of Debian of doing a very good idea, reproducible builds. This reproducible builds infrastructure runs on Jenkins. So while Debian has now the task of copying the Jenkins build infrastructure with the build.dd, which is the old daemon used to build, now we step everything just on Jenkins. And there are some very interesting features also. There is a plugin for Jenkins to do C code coverage, which we will activate as soon as we enter beta. So we can have like, stack analysis of C code, basic stuff, but we will run it on the core packages so that we can start really having a more quality insurance than even Debian does on the packages. And in general, we want to go into the direction of making this a sustainable project, not just a pure volunteering project.
We decided to use XFCE4 as default desktop manager, Windows manager, and we are very happy with that. Of course, all the desktop environment are supported, also GNOME. And as we already said, vdev instead of udev, it's in testing, but it's good.
Yeah, you can already You can already, sorry that I muted, and you can already start using it besides vdev. So that's an interesting thing of vdev. It doesn't conflict with vdev. All the paths are different, so you can run it beside and make your experiments. And there is already people running it in production systems, pretty small production systems. And it can start, it goes as far as it can start even X11, the last version of X11. So you can really run a desktop on vdev already.
So how to try? As we said before, we can upgrade from Debian with JS, simply changing the repositories in apt source. There is a ready-to-run Vagrant box on that URL. We plan to create contextualize the virtual machine for OpenNebula Marketplace and also all other cloud environments. There are ISO installers and there are bootloader ready to run. For the future, what we want to do, as we say, the pre-built image for public and private cloud, of course, OpenNebula comes first than the others, simply because we use that, so it's pretty useful also for us.
And we really love the simplicity and minimalism, which is, I think, an implicit theme. Today, if I hear other speeches like how simple and minimal is actually the philosophy to follow for all of us that really deal with bigger systems. So I think OpenNebula is a sister or brother.
Yeah, currently we are in Alpha 2 states, and before the end of the year we plan to release the first beta and go in production with the first version called Ashik, which is a planet, not only for the middle of next year. As we said, we want to do the replicate build for quality assurance and so on. And at the end, we want to ask to you if you want to contribute with an official OpenNebula packages for our distribution. We are very glad for that.
So you can already start running it. The Vagrant formula is on the main webpage, dev-one.org. It will start. You will see that perhaps systemd is still sneaking in. We are not banning it from the Amprolla repository, something that we can do at any time, and we want to do to mark the beta release. But we are keeping it around still to make experiments by hand. So you can actually, you will see that you can uninstall systemd without any dependency mess. We want to keep it so that you can do it by hand, so that if someone finds a problem, it can be still documented rather than banning it server side. So far, so good. It's Alpha 2 stage, so the beta is basically what you already tried, because we don't have major problems with this. We just have to improve a little bit Amprolla. So try it, and you'll love it, because if you do PS, AXF, you will see that it's extremely short. And that's what I really love in my system. You know? I will repeat the question.
In the most recent CEF release, we made heavy use of vdev and systemd for Upstart, so that when you plug in a disk, everything happens magically. Have you tried to integrate CEF? I know that you made a pull request to add Debian a month ago to the CEF build scripts, install dependencies. So I'm curious.
So the question is whether there will be a hot plug sort of thing that works exactly like Upstart and systemd are working now on desktop.
Well, I guess my question is a bit, I would have to explain too much if you don't know exactly how CEF uses
No.
vdev.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Do
I
you?
was hoping you
No.
we would discuss.
Of course, it's more packages are compatible with our distribution, more happy we are. So, as we said, we are in this moment, we are in an alpha stage, and we have to do a lot of things, okay? So every contribution is appreciated in this moment. If Chef wants to be compatible also with a system without systemd, and you want to take care of this, the development of that, we are happy to host everything. Internally, we don't have at the moment enough resource to do everything. So external contributions are very welcome in this moment.
Yeah, it's mostly a development driven by need, because at this point, that is what drives most of the people involved. We all need it for our own systems to preserve our own configuration sets, way to work, and environments. And there are very different agendas. So basically, it's mostly, yeah, need-driven. And we all run it already in production, most of the developers involved. But yeah, for instance, I use Ansible for this sort of things. He uses Chef, he knows better
Yeah,
about
I use
it.
Chef personally, but
For this sort of things, there will likely be, I can foresee, new scripts, because we want to base everything on vdev.
I was talking about Ceph, not Jeff. Sorry.
I don't know.
very similar name. Anyway,
Sorry, Ceph. Okay, look it up.
Anyway, the concept is the same. Of course, we changed the package name, but the concept is the same. At the moment, it's we are in a situation where we develop, we work only because we need that. External contribution are very welcome, especially for a package like yours that is very used in production environment like this one.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Last question.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Excellent. So I'm just curious, it's been a year. We all know that it's been very controversial, the fork from Debian. So can you share with us how it's been from your point of view? I mean, how do you live all this process? Do you find support from people? And that kind of things. More a personal view of this process.
I think it has been very difficult to recognize the people that are serious about this thing, because there was a lot of heat from both camps, from the anti-systemd and systemd, to the point in which trolling did not help, did not make anyone laugh anymore. So we needed to be a little bit serious. Also, by keeping the register of conversation down and non-personal and without personal attacks, is a job by itself. So we try to do that, but a little bit. We can't really like moderate constantly. We needed to moderate the mailing list. I personally never had to moderate a mailing list in my life, although I run many. This was the first and only situation. I think now we have a lot of support. We have confidential offers by some sponsors of Debian that want to step on Devuan. So we have both encouragement from the industry and from individuals, from people, from system administrators that run large deployments, and especially mission-critical deployments that cannot change from one day to the other. They could change, but on their own schedule. And in the meantime, they want binaries that are updated with the security patches. So all these people are completely supportive of us. Of course, it's more a server-based and even cloud-based audience that we have, but we don't want to leave behind the desktop users as well. There is a big participation also from desktop users. We still have trolling sometimes. We still have people that really hate systemd and come to our camp to just like send bad signals to the other camp. We have, on the other side, if we talk about this, they call us trolls. But what I would like to underline is that we really maintain the focus. We try to recognize those of us that really need this. And we really maintain the focus also on our declaration. We are really forking Debian, because this is not a respin, it's not a derivative. We have reproduced a whole new continuous integration infrastructure, and we are going to deviate from Devuan 9 on. We are not going to check back anymore on what Debian does. So we're trying to grow a new team and a new way also to grow a distribution, which will have also an enterprise support program, hopefully sustaining the developers involved.